What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And in today's episode, I'm going to get into the Knicks' 117-107 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They lose by 10 in a game that I viewed as a challenge matchup for them. In December, they had one of the easiest schedules in the NBA, but from here on out, the Knicks have the toughest schedule in the league. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang!
Second strike. Got the wall. He jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode, and let's jump to what became abundantly clear to me in this game. The Knicks do not have enough depth to compete with the real elites of the NBA. When you look at the Celtics and when you look at the Thunder, because I think those are the first and second best teams, and then the Knicks are the third right now. The Celtics, they have 9, 10 guys in their rotation, and we saw it tonight with the Thunder. SGA barely played 30 minutes in this game. It felt like Isaiah Hartenstein, who's making $80 million and is having a nice season for the Thunder, it felt like he wasn't on the court at all. Instead, it was guys like AJ Mitchell who had the game of his life, and Aaron Williams who had the game of his life in the fourth quarter. Those were the guys that were doing it for the Thunder. So to me, and when I'm thinking about what the Knicks need, it became 1 to 2 players quickly to 3 to 4, maybe even 5 pieces that might be able to contribute. That's what you have to add at the deadline. And like I've said before, I don't think Mitchell Robinson is going to come back. I do not think he will ever suit up for the Knicks again. So, you have to factor that in. This is really the rotation. Mitch is a trade piece, and Jericho Sims is the other big-time trade piece that you have. Those two guys are the guys that you have to get a lot back for. And you have all the assets in the picks. So when you look at that, you got to use your picks, Jericho Sims, Mitchell Robinson, and maybe Landry Shamet, because I haven't loved what I've seen out of him early in his real tenure as a Knick. Other than that, though, all these guys are going to be here down the stretch. You only have really a 7-guy rotation. And in the first half, I loved what I was seeing. Wingstop was firing on all cylinders. Precious Achiuwa has improved tremendously. His progression this year has been so good for the Knicks. I mean, it seems like he's got better court vision, court awareness, more athleticism. It seems like he's just much more confident running around on the court. Before, it was like, he was just like a big. There was nothing special to him. This year, he's really taken another step and improved his game. Isaiah Hartenstein, leaving New York and choosing the Thunder might have been one of the better things that could happen to Precious Achiuwa's career. And Achiuwa's on an expiring contract too. I don't want to move Precious though. He's been too good and too instrumental to the Knicks this year. So when you have that, I think the bench has been good. You were missing Deuce for this game, but I'm not really going to count that because they were missing Chet Holmgren. Like losing by 10 points to a Thunder team, and the score isn't really. It doesn't show what happened on the court because this was a 2-point game down the stretch. It was a 1.3 point game. It was the Thunder really extended their lead when it became all free throws and stuff like that. So I don't really look at the 10 points as that big of a deal. What I do look at though is that the Knicks were leading the Thunder at one point by 15. I said going into this 4-game stretch where you play the Wizards twice, then you play the Magic, then you play the Thunder. I said take 2 out of 3 versus the Wizards and Magic. They took 3 out of 3, and then whatever happens against the Thunder. They took all 3, and then they lost against the Thunder. So I can't be too mad. But there is a part of me that is upset with how this game transpired. Because I saw a Knicks team that was clicking on all cylinders. They were up 15. They were up double digits going into the half. And I saw them fold down the stretch of this game. The defense wasn't there in the second half. I don't want to complain about the whistles too much, but they were clearly on the Thunder side. I mean, it's become pretty clear now that Karl Anthony Towns isn't going to get the whistle. And we already know that Jalen Brunson doesn't get a whistle either. I'm not sure how OG's elbow's doing. He was icing it up during at least one timeout, maybe more. And he's gonna feel that injury tomorrow. That's one where it's not too bad the night of. You obviously feel it, and it's not fun to deal with. But the next day you wake up, and that's when it starts like killing you. That's the type of injury that, I'm not gonna say injury because he hasn't been like ruled out or he's questionable or anything yet. But that's the type of pain that he's going to be going through over the next couple of days, really until the Bulls game. And I think they could beat the Bulls without him. So if you have to hold him out of that game, do it. I want to see Deuce get back in the mix soon, or I'm going to start getting a little bit worried because hamstring injuries, those injuries can linger. And those are the injuries that take time. They really just take time to heal. So I'm interested to see what like Deuce's timeline is. He's been listed with hamstring tightness the last couple days. So hopefully it's nothing serious. I mean, the injuries, when OG came down from that dunk, my heart stopped for a good 3 seconds. Because at that point, the Knicks, they were clicking. Like I said, they're firing on all cylinders. Wingstop was wingstopping. I mean, Mikal had 20-plus points. OG was in the high teens, if not the 20s. Cat had another 22-rebound game. Josh Hart, He played pretty well despite getting put on a poster, getting a technical foul, and getting dropped by SGA. It was a rough game for him in that aspect, but he did get some Josh Hart rebounds. He had a couple of three-pointers. He had a nice finish at the rim over Hartenstein in the transition game. And this is the thing, I think I put it out. The Knicks had to control the pace of this game, and they had to keep it a slow-paced game. That's something they did not do. They looked to run and gun, and that's not going to work against a Thunder team that's built like this. They have guys that are looking to run. They are taking the first opportunity to get out, get a rebound, outlet pass, and get in transition. That is not what the Knicks do. The Knicks thrive in transition settings, or half-court settings, rather. Besides, Josh Hart's really the only guy who excels in the transition game. Everybody else is better in the half-court. Mikal Bridges, half-court player. Jalen Brunson, definitely half-court. Cat, definitely half-court. OG's kind of a mix. I would say better in the half-court. But then you look at the bench unit's a different story. But at the point I was really thinking about it was while the starters were on the floor. The Knicks needed to slow that game down. The Knicks needed to control what happened in the pace. The Knicks, like Josh Hart was just whipping the ball ahead. And I'm not complaining because it's fun to run and gun a little bit. But it was happening too often. And you're not going to beat a team like the Thunder doing that. The Thunder are one of the better transition teams in the game. The Thunder are going to look to get out. They're going to look to push, and they're going to look to hit a couple threes in transition. I mean, that's what they did in the fourth quarter. It wasn't like they worked it down the court, grinded you down on defense, and then hit a bone-crushing fadeaway in the post or something. No, they were running and gunning. They were hitting threes all over the place. Aaron Williams had the game of his life in that fourth quarter. He poured in 15-plus points in the fourth quarter. That's the other thing. It seems like all these role players just decide to have the games of their lives against the Knicks. It's happened so often, and it's been such a prominent theme over the last years. It's always, usually it's at the Garden. But today it happened at the Paycom Center. I mean, Aaron Williams in the fourth quarter, AJ Mitchell in the first half, these guys were going off. And I'm going to be honest, I hadn't really heard of them before this game. So it's not like these are prominent figures in the league that are beating you. Like SGA is supposed to beat you. He had like 25 plus points. He played about 32, 33 minutes. That I can live with. But it's the other guys. It's the role players that I hate getting beat by role players. And it's better than getting, honestly, I would rather get beat by the guy you're supposed to get beat. I don't like what Tibbs did game planning wise, starting Mikal on SGA. And he's been doing this a lot recently. He's been starting Mikal on the opposing team's best player, where I think OG should get that nod. I think there's got to be an OG Anunoby depoy propaganda at this point. To me, he's an all-star right now, and I think he could get votes for Defensive Player of the Year. He's probably not going to win it because there's an alien in the league named Victor Wembanyama, but he should get votes. Like, he should get first-place votes for Defensive Player of the Year. That's how good he has been. When Tibbs switched OG onto Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he did a really good job at neutralizing SGA. And it also felt like in that second quarter, the Knicks consistently had 2-3 hands in Shai's face when he tried to shoot. And that starts with OG forcing him to the help defense. That's not a bad thing. OG proved that he could guard Shai one-on-one. But then, when Shai went up to shoot, and when he was getting into, I don't know, like his tendencies, his habits, OG forced him to the middle of the court. Kat was there, Mikal was there, Josh was there. They all had their hands up, and it worked. That's how you got to guard SGA. You got to crowd him. You got to put multiple hands in his face anytime he tries to go up. His knack for finishing around the rim, it's top in the league. He's probably 6'5", 6'6". He's one of the better finishers, one of the best finishers in the sport. That's set in stone. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander can finish, and he proved that late in this game with a high arcing finger roll, something of the esque that Steph Curry would do in warm-ups over Karl Anthony Towns to put the Thunder up multiple scores at one point, I think. Like what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was able to do on Mikal Bridges is the reason OG Anunoby should just start games guarding the team's best player. I think that's the more probable solution. Like, obviously in the NBA, when you're playing teams as good as the Thunder, their best option is going to be able to torch you on any given night. He's going to be able to go off for 60 points, maybe even 70. Although I don't think we've seen a 70-point game this year. We saw quite a few of them last year. But it's going to be about how do the Knicks and any other team, how do these teams neutralize these players? That's what every team tries to do on any given night. They are never going to fully lock a player down. It's how do you get them as close to neutralized as possible? How do you not let SGA beat you? And they did a good job of that. This goes back to the Thunder having so much depth because Jay Williams didn't beat you, J Dub didn't beat you. It was Aaron Williams and AJ Mitchell. Those were the guys that really beat you. Those were the guys that didn't let the Knicks win this game. And the Knicks are going to be better. The Knicks are going to come back next Friday night at the world's most famous, and they're going to give the Thunder their best shot again. They're going to give it all that they have once again. That's what the Knicks have done. Karl Anthony Towns, another 22 rebound game. That is what Kat has done. I am so shocked at what Kat has been able to do since put on a New York Knicks jersey. I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't think he had it in him. You could go back. You could watch my first episode after the Karl Anthony Towns trade. I did not like the trade. I did not like giving up Dante DiVincenzo. I did not like giving up Julius Randle. But Leon Rose is a genius. And Leon Rose has to get on the phones right now, maybe tomorrow, and he's got to start working on trades. Because you have to secure your depth, and I want it to be before the trade deadline. Why not try to do it now and then let these guys gel? Because at the point of the trade deadline, in about a month and a half now, give or take, they'll be almost fully gelled at that point. And then it's a full sprint from there to the end of April. That's how I don't know why teams don't do that more. I get it's because it's probably because they would have to overpay a little bit. But I feel like that could work. Like if you trade for a guy right now, you don't have to have your full trade deadline haul right now. Just bring like one guy in here. And I want to stay as far away from Jimmy Butler as possible. I think he will be a cancer in this locker room. He's been a problem all throughout his career in Miami. Just stay away from him. It's not worth it. He got suspended 7 games from the Heat. It's not worth it, Leon Rose. Don't make a big splash. This team, the core of this team should be set. The core of this team should be Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, top leading scorers essentially every night. Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby can pop off and lead the team, put the team on their back once in a while. And Josh Hart just does Josh Hart things. It's the bench that you really have to fortify, and you have to do a sufficient job at fortifying it if you want any chance at an NBA Finals this season. I would love to see the Thunder in a 7-game series. I think it would go 7 games. I think the Knicks have what it takes to beat them, and I think we're going to see that on Friday. I think the Knicks can come back and they'll give the Thunder a W on Friday night at MSG. I think they win next Friday night. But for now, it's not going to work in the playoffs with this being your depth. Because when OG went down, my mind immediately went to, who's coming off the bench? Deuce is out. Tyler Kolek, I love the kid, but he's not going to be your backup wing. He doesn't have the size. He doesn't have the athleticism. He doesn't have the defensive firepower for that. Who's your backup wing if OG or Mikal gets hurt? God forbid. As we've seen it all throughout OG's career, we have seen that he is consistently hurt come playoff time. Who is his backup? And I can tell you right now, Landry Shamit's not going to get the job done. And Precious Achiuwa is not going to get the job done. You need more. I kept saying it in the episode I did earlier last week, maybe earlier this week, talking about the Knicks trade deadline targets. You just need more. That's it. And I've talked about it with the Mets and what they need to do this offseason. They need more. The Knicks need more to finish off this roster and really build a true title contender. They're a contender right now, but they just need a couple more pieces. Overall, though, I think the Thunder were like a really good test. It showed you could go toe-to-toe with them. Jalen Brunson did not have his greatest night, coming off a game where coming off a missed game, his first game back after a calf injury. Calf injuries are always tough. I don't think he was fully healed. And then it looked like he kind of re-aggravated it at a point in the first half. So we'll see what we have with Jalen Brunson moving forward. Maybe he sits out Saturday night against the Bulls. D Rose is getting honored at that game. But we'll see, man. I think the Thunder are a good test, and I want to see what they come back with on Saturday against the Bulls, the next game against the Magic, and then eventually next Friday night against the same Oklahoma City Thunder team that they were leading by 15 points at a point in that second quarter. In that second quarter, I swear I thought this Knicks team was going to the finals. And there have been multiple times where I've thought that this season. They can do it, don't get me wrong. But the way they came out in this fourth quarter, only 1 assist in the fourth. I mean, they weren't getting the whistle, but you can't control that. The offense was stagnant in the fourth quarter. You're not going to get to and win an NBA Finals like that. This team just has to figure out how to really close out games, how to be locked in on defense for all 4 quarters, how to share the love in the fourth quarter. Because a lot of the time, Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns just try to take over. And it doesn't work every game. And it didn't work tonight. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and following or subscribing down below. If you want to have your sports takes or questions aired on the Sports Pod, you could do that by dialing 848-305-8073 and leaving me a voicemail. And last but not least, check out all my socials linked in the description below. And make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.